Cloud9's always like to prioritize vision, and that's one of the big reasons I think they've been
point.
attracted to the Beastmaster, that Hawk. I mean, we've seen them run that in tandem with like the Zeus, the Night Stalker, as we saw like maybe last month or so.
It was the last patch, really, but it's still a really viable strat. Ooh, and with the Centaur pickup, there's an even better reason to have that advantage, because Centaur is very much a team fight, gank, initiate on your opponents before they see you coming hero.
Yeah, definitely. Another one of these offlaners that's certainly fallen out of favor. That I would put him in my category of underrated heroes right now. I think he's stronger than you would think based on how often he's picked.
Yeah, he has some very situational uses. He was like the offlaner in the last patch because so many things about him were amazing, but he's maybe slightly over-nerfed. Like, his combo is so strong, but there's just better heroes right now, I feel. Like, your initiators can be a lot more single-target bursts. Like, Centaur is mostly an AoE burst. In some cases, it's better to pick a Tusk, I feel, than it is to pick Centaur, because you have to worry about the Centaur stomp cast time, whereas Tusk can just blink punch, snowball, ice shards, and do, like 600 damage to one target. Obviously, it's not as much AoE as Centaur, but he has slightly different uses, and in some ways, I really feel Centaur is worse than a hero like Tusk.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tusk is just more versatile. The nature of having the snowball to reset and save your teammates gives him so much more versatility than someone like Centaur, who's more one-dimensional with Stampede, Initiation, drop your combo, and then kind of take the fight from there. But well, Cloud9 get a good counter-initiator of their own, Lion, another support that's kind of fallen out of favor, but obviously very bursty. That's the first thing that comes to mind with this lineup. Huge amount of burst damage on those three heroes.
And definitely a hero that Cloud9 plays all the time. Misery will be taking this almost for sure, with the occasional Big Daddy No Tail play. But Misery's line is pretty much something else most of the time. He'll just get a lot more farm than you expect him to. In the late game, he'll often have Blink, plus another mobility item, Yules or Force, and then sometimes even an extra item on top of that, like a Shadow Blade or something crazy you're not expecting Lion to have. But he's very good versus Wisp. If you use Wisp's ulti to relocate into battle, you can often do the setup stun. He can hex important targets, though not the best versus Centaur's ult Stampede, which makes everybody run max movement speed. But I think Lion's a good pick here. Like you said, burst, kill the Wisp, and then the hero that he's protecting is far less dangerous.
Yeah. Well, speaking of burst damage, Complexity will grab some of their own, possibly the hero for Swindle Melons, and to be honest, he's been a little bit hit or miss with Lina this tournament. We've seen some really impressive games, and we've seen a couple where he's been picked on in the early stage, and it's really slowed down his momentum throughout the game, but still a hero he's very comfortable on.
He does draft for his team, so it's entirely possible that he just is a little distracted sometimes. I think he's a very good player. I've played against him in a pub once or twice, and he really impressed me there. But maybe not the same level as some of these absolute world-class top-tier mids. And I was actually thinking about this when I was heading over this morning. Like, Complexity is the team that just trained their asses off, honestly. Like, they had some roster issues throughout the year. Everybody thought they were a joke, but they pick up Fly, they change their roster a little bit, and all of a sudden they just look really strong. And I think they just have really good teamwork. They have very good players, maybe not top-tier players. I mean, they're up there definitely, but maybe they're not as good as like CTY or so and so. Like the best mid players, G for example. But they're very, very talented, and they work super hard, and their teamwork is better than almost any other team here. I think that's why they've been doing so well.
They actually remind me a lot of the old Fnatic. Funny enough that Fly is actually on this team, but not only the parallels of coming from Heroes of Newerth as full-time professionals and transitioning to Dota 2, but the way that they did it. They came in knowing the odds were against them, they found a good roster, and they've stuck with it. That's one really strong parallel is they've had a consistent team roster for the most part. There's been little changes here or there, but Swindle, Z-Freak, and Moon have kind of been the backbone of this team for a long time, and I think that really goes a long way in developing that team communication and that kind of play style.
I was when I was in Korea, we had a player that joined us. His name was Slicks, a very talented Australian player, but he was on a team in Han with a bunch of Complexity Gaming. Some of these players, and he told us that the reason they had a period where they were the best team, they were called Stay Green. And he said the reason they were so good was because they figured out the best strat before everybody, and they practiced the hell out of it, and they really grinded on it and got it down. And then when the other teams figured out that, the strat they're doing was the best strat, they tried to imitate it, but Complexity Gaming had been working on it for so long and practicing it so much that they simply executed it better than everybody else, and that's why they won everything.
I would say that's pretty accurate. I was around when some of that was happening. And
it seems like the same kind of strategy, Like, seems a lot like what Complexity is doing here. They've picked a bit of different heroes here with the Sven carry, most likely. Probably Lina mid. No, I guess it has to be Lina support, huh? Because I mean,
Lena or Sven support. It's hard to say. More likely the Lena, I would say, though we haven't really seen her on the support role nearly as much.
Yeah, occasionally it happens, but not huge amounts. Sven here, I feel, has to be a core because there was a support Sven earlier. I think it was against the Techies.
It was against the Techies, yeah.
Cloud9 actually played it. And the reason that was cool is because Sven can give his team up to 20 armor for a huge amount of time.
8 seconds.
8 seconds with a downtime of 14.
Yeah.
So that's a huge
Over
amount of armor.
50% uptime.
That'll be very good against Gyrocopter Flat Cannon, but that's pretty much it on Cloud9. Almost the rest of their damage is magical or a little bit
especially
of
the
fear.
Spirit Breaker. You can't forget that Bash is actually magical damage as well as the Nether Strike.
So I feel like it has to be a carry Sven.
Yeah, agreed.
And
Lena pairs very nicely with Sven when she's in the support role because he can set up the stun, she can follow up with LSA, and it's just a nice combo there to burst people down and get some space.
And they can get a lot of attacks in if they have Warcry. That not only does it give armor, but it also gives movement speed up to 12%, which is about a regular Yasha. So that means extra right clicks with these two guys. The Stormhammer's 2 seconds, Light Strike Ray at level 1 is 1.6.
That's actually great with Lena. If she even just has 1 point in the Fiery Soul, she's really moving fast.
Yeah, she probably won't have that until level 4, maybe level 8 more likely, but it's possible. And Wisp Sven is actually very strong. It's a combo that MVP Phoenix actually drafts a lot. Viper's the pick for Cloud9, so that'll be fought as hero. Not a hero that he can necessarily farm super hard on or make super big individual plays, but it is the hero that is pulling wins for a lot of teams.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not so much since yesterday, but the day before it had a pretty high win ratio, and we'll see if C9 can do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great to have against Shadow Fiend. We've seen, I think you and I, or you mentioned it 2 days ago when we were last casting, that even though Shadow Fiend had a reputation for struggling in the laning phase in those first few levels, it seems like the players that are taking the Shadow Fiend are just so experienced now that they can get those early last hits pretty easily. But Viper is one of a handful of heroes that can give him a run for his money if there aren't any supports to make a little space for the Shadow Fiend. We've seen very commonly supports early start out in that mid lane for the first wave or two, and then rotate down to the safe lane and start working the jungle.
And they definitely can rotate to mid. It'd be a Wisp Shadow Fiend. Even just the movement speed for a hero like SF can sometimes be enough to kill a Viper. And Viper in a 1v1 versus SF can kind of go both ways depending on where the lane position is and how things go. But it's going to be a little scary there for the Viper occasionally. But he'll also get ganks, I'm sure. And if it's a gank with a Viper +1 support versus SF, he's going to have a tough time as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so game number 1 here, folks. Our first heat of the day. Good luck, have fun, fellow Americans, says Swindle Melons. Everybody in a good mood today, Purge, for the final day of the group stage. Lots of good Dota to come.
Got an off-lane Queen of Pain on Bone 7, so not the typical off-lane hero, but it's going to be versus a Sven and a Wisp and potentially a Lena as well. So I think this is a pretty good pick here. It's not the best tri lane ever. They've actually gone for an aggro.
Yeah, it looks like Moon will be the one in the safe lane with the Centaur, and they will go for an aggro tri lane. Swindle's the one that ends up taking the Shadow Fiend. It's a good trio of heroes to aggro try with, I think. The nature of the stuns, the regen from the Wisp, they have a lot of kill potential.
Yeah, and a lot of sustain as well, like you said, the regen. Because any regen that Wisp gets is going to be doubled towards his carry, so you could potentially salve 2 people there. Looks like they'll be able to get the top rune for sure. C9 will be able to grab the bottom rune, and that should be an even mid lane then. Shadow Fiend with a Wraith Band, and Viper also with a Wraith Band. But once he gets a couple last hits, it'll be Shadow Fiend's favor as a whole. Because we won't see too much of the second skill on Viper, probably.
Yeah. And that means Big Daddy, no tail here. He'll have to take the Spirit Breaker. He'll be playing on the Foreign Misery on the Lion. As you mentioned, he'll go boots first. And probably we'll see him roaming around quite a bit here.
I actually like the Spirit Breaker pick a lot. It was picked before the Sven came through, but it's a solution versus BKB carries, so Sven might have to be a little bit worried about getting bashed repeatedly or getting another strike in really crucial moments. But once he grabs a BKB, that's pretty much all he has to worry about, and then he just wants his opponents to group up a bit so he can get the cleave on. So hopefully for him that will happen. Remember, Complexity needs to win at least one game here to guarantee their top 4 finish against MVP Phoenix, but if they can get more points than that, they can get the 3rd space.
Yeah. And look at this, Magic Bush blocked out by Cloud9, so limiting some jungle access here. And, of course, the pole camp as well. Radiant side wards, they'll get one down here inside of the tree line for their aggro try, and then one into the entryway of their jungle, possibly to make Moon's life a little bit easier in that safe lane. It is a 2-1-2 for Cloud9, at least the start, though. No surprise to see Big Daddy already roaming around here, one of those very active support players.
also because they expected at least a dual lane down here, because No Tail's down here. Look at that. He's even blocking jungle camps. So this is probably because we've seen a lot of mid-wisp pulls lately. But they're actually not focusing on that, so this seems like a complete misread by C9. 2 sentry wards that have essentially been wasted. Might see a gank on mid on Swindle Melons. He's got a salve here. Viper's still looking to dive. 2 levels of poison attack. I like the skill build versus the SF. Gives you some advantage. And they ping out and guessing that No Tail is bottom, or mid, sorry.
Yep.
So
up top, they tried to dive on the gyro, but good positioning there from Envy. Moved into the tree line, and he will be safe. Now back towards mid. Swindle in some trouble. There's the charge from Big Daddy. Fada dives the tower. It'll be an easy first blood for Cloud9. Fada, the hero, to strike first.
I feel like that's a moderate mistake there by Swindle Melons. Like, there was a ping from Moon Meander right next to the tower. He said, I think Spirit Breaker's there. He's waiting to gank you mid because he hasn't been bought in a while, and where else would he be? So he ends up getting charged there. I didn't see the circumstances that got him initiated on by the Viper. Probably went for a last hit, but he ends up dying there in a matchup with a gank that I think was called out.
Mm-hmm. Well, a little rune control here. Z-Freak will bottle up the bounty in the top lane, and Big Daddy, he'll just eat that regen down bottom here. Bone7 having a great time this off lane, though. Centaur is able to grab some last hits here and there. He's getting decent experience, but Bone really not being slowed down too much, and this should bode well for Cloud9. I guess slightly greedy lane set up here, but so far so good as all their cores are farming at least decently.
Yeah, this is really good for Quap versus Centaur. It's a pretty one-sided matchup. Like, he can return damage with Centaur, but he can't go for a last hit on every single creep like Quap can, so he's pretty much down to the offlane role. But this is what Complexity wants, and it should limit a bit of farm on Eternal Envy on the other side, and it has.
Yeah, that's a good point. Only 8-0, and the Sven, conversely, sitting 14-2 at the moment. Interesting to see more mangoes picked up here, Purge. One on Ziz as well as one on Eternal Envy.
Really needed on Sven, honestly. Look at his mana pool. He's only got 200, and his first skill costs 140. So the mango could definitely be the difference between a kill or not. And on an important carry like Gyro, whose HP is a bit weak early, look, that's a good trade here with just the mango. And Gyro, kind of similar thing. If you cast Rocket Barrage like 3 times in a row, all of a sudden you could really use a mango to score a kill. So I like the pickup for Gyrocopter here, and it's definitely going to be nice when he's aggressively trying lane. Those are the situations where you need that burst mana to make or break a game.
Yeah. Envy will just rotate into the jungle here, trying to find farm anywhere he can. And just going to pick on these Centaurs a little bit, give a little solo XP to Misery. Rotation towards the mid lane. Old Wisp going to come down to try and support the Shadow Fiend. It is a disaster for Swindle at this point, Purge. He is 6-1 compared to the 21-6 Viper. He desperately needs some help. We've got Big Daddy just hiding in the tree line here, ready to charge over if Swindle oversteps his bounds.
Yeah, they even had this Observer Ward, actually, when Big Daddy ended up rotating, so they definitely knew that he was there the last time, and this time it's just scary, you know? Shadow Fiend versus Spirit Breaker. If he gets that bash, or if he gets 2 bashes as he charges in, you're absolutely dead. And here comes the charge once again. He's trying to get the deny, but Wisp is here. Can he keep him alive? There's 1 raise, 2 raise, maybe 3 on Fada. He's going to stay alive, though. Now going on No Tail. Great block from Z-Freak, and that should be No Tail going down. He gets the bash, though. The 2 bash! Oh, my God, so lucky from No Tail. Z-Freak might also die. Viper going for the kill. He gets it.
Wow.
Double kill for Fada, and right off the bat, a bit of unlucky. Ooh, the Dragon's Head gets him. Fly, huge pickup there. That's a full level, and he's going to get some last hits in mid. Great rotation from Fly to absolutely salvage that.
Yeah, good from Fly, but just so unfortunate from the perspective of Complexity. I guess very fortunate for Big Daddy there on the Spirit Breaker. A very noble effort from Z-Freak. He kept that Shadow Fiend alive for so long. Just imagine if Swindle had some more souls, if he was farming better in the lane. That could have gone completely different with just a little more auto attack damage. So now things starting to compound a little bit from that first death, and now this second death really puts Swindle far behind with Fata 3-1 in only 5 minutes.
He's level 6 too versus the SF's level 4. This is such a bad, and he has treads and an Aquila. Like, there's no way the Shadow Fiend can fight this. He's got 8 armor and he has corrosive skin. Shadow Fiend doesn't even have a level 3
This
raise.
could easily be another kill here. Just a Viper strike and a charge in. Okay, they will cancel it. They see that there's somebody lingering nearby. The Lena's still here. So they won't chance it, but any opportunity